Rose is excused. Mayor Coons.
I am present. And Councilor McKeel, would you lead us in the flag salute this evening? This evening, we do have a couple of things. We just have a brief consent calendar, which is the minutes of our last meeting, which was March 19th. And I would hear out any potential additions or corrections or a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I thank Councilor Oberst for the motion, Councilor McKeel for the second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Great, thank you. We do have our business agenda this evening, and later on we will have an executive session as we continue the journey towards hiring of a new city manager. But first, we do have an opportunity for public comment this evening, and I don't see anything up here. Phyllis, did we receive any requests for public comment?
We did not, Mayor Coons.
All right, thank you. That takes us to our business agenda. We do have a hearing tonight on a resolution regarding a rate adjustment for Brant Sanitary Service. And we've been in regular conversations with our provider, Josh Brant of Brant Sanitary, and sort of been keeping us well
Mayor
abreast of
Coons?
what's going on. So
Mayor
I will,
Coons,
yes.
please note that the executive session is before the business agenda.
Didn't plan on having it before.
Yes,
Oh, we do. Oh, to hear the proposal.
yes,
I see.
Confidential information.
yes.
Okay, right. That is correct. We do have to have the executive session first to hear a report because of the confidential information that is shared in regards to this kind of rate adjustment. And so pursuant to ORS 192.661F, we will adjourn into executive session, consider records that are exempt from disclosure under public records law. So we're going to ask everyone to leave except our legal counsel, Lane Shetterly, our interim city manager, Christy Worster, our city recorder, Phyllis Bowman, and then Josh and your consultant who is here to present to us as well. And we will all call you back into the room when we have completed this portion of the meeting, which will not be recorded. Thank you.
This conference is no longer being
We return to our regular session. We received confidential competitive information, and at this time, I will open a public hearing regarding a rate change for Brant Sanitary Service. And Christy, do you want to introduce the topic, and then we'll have a presentation from our hauler.
Yes, Madam Mayor and members of the council, tonight you have before you a resolution requesting a rate increase by our solid waste hauler Brant Sanitary Service. The request is an overall rate increase of 7.9 in the services that they currently provide, 7.9% increase. And that would be with an effective date of May 1 of this year. Just some history on their rate process. Last year, we did process and approve a rate increase of 7.8% across the service categories, and also had a $1.90 surcharge on the recycling rate. This year, we are asking for a 7.9% increase across all of those rates, and also maintaining that $1.90 surcharge. Part of our process in approving a rate increase and evaluating a rate increase is that the council considered the cost of the haulers' cost to perform these services to our community, the anticipated costs that they have moving into this next year, the need for their equipment replacement, also the investment that they have in their business currently, and the necessity that they have a reasonable rate of return and operating margin. Also, your ordinance requires that you evaluate the rates in other cities of similar service, and also determine the public interest in assuring that the rates enable the franchisee to provide the service on an ongoing basis. And finally, to hold a public hearing to allow comments from the public on the proposed increase. The Brant Sanitary has provided the council with a letter of the rate proposal increase. That is dated, that's in your packet. It's dated March 11th. In addition to that, they've provided additional information, which is a comparative rate schedule, as well as the operational reasons for the 2024 rate increase proposal. And then finally, we'll be asking for your decision on whether to approve the rate increase via a resolution following the conclusion of the public hearing. And with that, I'll conclude my report.
Great, thank you. And so we do have all this information in our packet, but for public records purposes, Josh, particularly if you want to give us a little bit of a summary for the operational reasons for the rate increase first, and then we'll have your consultant speak to sort of an industry perspective on rates.
So one of the largest operating expenses. Red is on. Okay, perfect. I wouldn't have thought that. Thank you for letting me know. That's right. So the largest one, of course, is my disposal fee. Those rates that stems from yard debris, cardboard, recycling, garbage, all of those all increase. My largest increase, of course, is the garbage, the landfill. They have done a 6-year straight minimum of $2 a ton increase, not to mention additional environmental fees on top of that. So that's number one. Of course, our recycling markets, number two, although they are better than a couple years ago. There's a lot of people working hard to get those going in the right direction in 2025. We're really hopeful that we'll see some great changes. I'm optimistic about that. The other large one, which actually just happened to me maybe 7 days ago, is my maintenance cost just went up. So I was stuck on $130 an hour, fairly large amount per hour. Some of you may say, well, why don't you have your own mechanic? There's a lot more money into that than 130 an hour. They're a fabulous company. I use Dave Mobile Repair out of Rick Rial. They are increasing that to $145 for labor. And that will be by far the largest, when it comes to what they do, maintenance, the labor's usually the highest amount by far. So that's an increase. But like I said, I think from their perspective, I'm a nice guy. They do a fabulous job for me. I could take a truck in. They've got 8 people there, 8 mechanics. The return, getting things back. Now, there's some of those costs have risen. Additionally, is some of the supply chain. So it doesn't even all fall just to labor. Some of the supply chain getting, unfortunately, our trucks have a lot of sensors, and those sensors all come from China. Being able to get those, I had a truck sit 7 months 2 years ago because of that. And so that's kind of overall from an operational side. Those are kind of some of the big reasons that I'm currently looking for the rate increase. So.
Okay, and
questions?
with us, Estel Harlan, an expert in this industry. I'm not sure how you get to be and what it is that keeps you going, but we appreciate your expertise. We benefited several times with our questions we have. So if you can let us know a little bit about sort of the overall industry. And I know you have thoroughly examined the books of Brant Sanitary and have some thoughts about what we need to do to keep reasonable service, but keep him in business too. So if you can share that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So yes, we were here last year and got a rate increase. And we're back. We told you last year that we were going to, rather than getting just an enormous increase last year, we would break it into 2 pieces. The reason for both pieces needing to be so large was because our previous increase was back in 2016. And then the company had a very unexpected, disastrous death of their manager. And it took a while for the transition. And so we went all those years without an increase. And so we had to put it into 2 pieces, not for our sake, but for the customer's sake. And with the increase that we got last year, we were able to get up to a slight positive, a 0.1 before tax, income tax, operating margin. We are still well below the operating margin of what most companies in the industry ask for, but we are content in asking for the lower end of the operating margin. As Josh said, the disposal was actually the prime reason. It increased 9% in what we came in with last year and 13% now in 2024. And we know it's going to go up again, most likely this coming January. It tends to go up every January. The city manager mentioned that one of the things that you look at is the comparative rates around you. And we did give in the packet, I believe it's in the public packet as well, the comparative rate schedule. And your rates are very low here compared to the rates around you. Even the new proposed rates are very low compared to the rates around you. And we try very hard to not have subsidies flowing between classes of customers. Most of the jurisdictions around you have a subsidy flowing between commercial subsidizing some of the residential rate. We try to keep it at cost of service, so there's not subsidies. But even so, our rates are very low compared whether you look at commercial or residential. We also offer size of carts that are larger per segmented size than some of the surrounding. We offer a 35-gallon, a 65-gallon, and a 95-gallon. Some of the surrounding areas is a 32-gallon. If they offer a 65, if they offer that intermediate one, It could be a 60 or a 64, something less than the 65 that you get here. And others do not offer the 95, they offer a 90. So we're also offering more in capacity. And this is a family who's been serving you for a very long time. Josh was just telling me that his grandmother used to have Phyllis's job a long time ago, a long time ago. They're known in this community, and they really, really pride themselves in their service and in keeping rates low. And so I hope that the public understands that, yes, it's two big chunks and of an increase, and in the future, we hope to come back on a more regular basis. That is the plan. That was the plan back in 2016 before the death occurred. And so that we can, but even so, if you take those two increases, last year's and this year's, over that period of time since 2016, it's still well below the CPI during that period of time.
All right, thank you. Are there questions of either Josh or Estill? Good. Well, you get to go first, Counselor Carey. Please turn on your microphone.
This one. I read your information with care, and when and was surprised that you're back with the same amount within, 11 months from the last request. And so I went back to my own recollection, which is fading, but I did go back to the minutes, and I went back to the materials that you provided a year ago, and I found nothing about this being the first year of a 2-year plan. Just couldn't find it. That might be there, but I thought that we resolved the primary problem with last year's increase.
We couldn't have, we could not have only asked for what we would have needed to have asked for about 15% if we were solving the whole problem. Because of the cost of the margin, we were at a minus. You saw it in the financial statements, how much below, how negative are, and if to get up to 8, we would have needed about a 14 to 15% increase to get up to an 8% operating margin.
Well, but the 8%, but we got to a positive operating.
We got to a 0.1.
Yeah, okay, well, 0.1, so let's call it 0.
Yeah.
I concur. But again, I'm having a hard time figuring out why the request is where it is. And understand, I mean, what I'm trying to do is represent for the ratepayer. I'm in complete support of the company and would like to do all we can to do that, but we have to be, to use an old term, due diligence on this. Is this rate request to get to an 8% margin, or is it to accommodate some of the things Josh talked about?
It's both. It's both. The things
Well, as I read it, it was primarily, the primary focus was to get it to the low end of the industry standard, which was 8 to 12% operating prior to income tax.
that's the metric. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. I think, again, we're in here in May. It takes me a long time. We have a lot of this stuff prepared fairly early, and to get on your schedule is not always the easiest. So I get pushed all the way till May or June, and you're implementing, and I'm already a year behind. So we're
Right,
not
Josh,
even
but
getting-
this, pardon me, but we just approved this less than a year ago. And you'd like to be back ahead of that? I mean, we approved the 23 increase a year ago, 11 months ago. And so we wanted to be back quicker than that for the next increase?
No,
No.
I'm just saying that when we're trying to shoot for our 8% margin. That's what and we haven't had.
Can you speak into the mic a little bit more, Josh?
And you can consistently see our our operating margin, we haven't even been close in a lot of years. And again, based on my philosophy, we've tried to come in and be able to get some of these costs taken care of. But I haven't come in and directly said, I want to make 8 to 10%. We would be having the conversation of, okay, then I'm looking at a 17% increase of money that I'm allowed to have that operating margin. And so when we fall that year behind, like I said, maintenance just went up a ton. That's all information that you're not even going to have right now. And then we have to pro forma out for the following years. So we're simply just trying to, yes, reach that 8%, but we're trying to get there also in a very reasonable way so that those costs aren't just massively handed down on my customers. It's the same reason that I continually come in here and discuss recycling. It's the same reason I continually come in here and talk about the new Modernization Act, and I don't get followed up on about it at all. And that gets implemented. It was implemented in 2024. And if we didn't take advantage of it, we missed the boat and we're not set up till 2027. I've continually talked about that. Additionally, I've tried to discuss what it'll look like when that landfill's not here. And that tipping fee right now of $52 a ton, is going to go up to 120 to 125. You're looking at millions of dollars in 1 year increase. And my goal is, how do you plan for all of that stuff without knowing what our number is? So we simply try to take the numbers that we have, work with it a little, have it make sense, make sure they're right, and then we present that information to you. But because we don't have those hard numbers and we're considerably always steps slightly behind, that's part of the issue of trying to get to that point.
And when we were here a year ago, we did not know we were going to get hit with a 13% disposal fee increase.
And could you tease that out for me, that 13% disposal rate fee? Because I see in here, in the chart you have on page 19, operational reasons for 2024 rate increase. I'm looking at it, and the chart, it's a little hard to figure, but I'm pegging $50 a year ago and 52 now. That's $2 up. That's 4% increase instead of 13.
Well, there's other disposal in there, like for yard debris. And remember, we talked about what all was in it.
Those would be related to that expense.
Yeah. But the overall cost went up 13%. And 9% the year before.
Yeah, I'm looking at, and again, the years are not real easy to determine, but it goes from 50 to 52 for the MSW, which is the regular stuff, solid waste.
Part of our difficulty, this is on calendar year. It goes up, and they have a 630 year in, so I actually had to go back to 22. I couldn't just go back. I had to go back. So their actual was a year 22, 23, and now our pro forma is 23, 24. And so it went back to a lower number than this calendar. What he's shown you in this chart is calendar year increases.
Yeah, from 20 to 24. Those are the increases in those particular areas of just Coffin Creek.
Okay, but that's good. I mean, I'm not understanding the chart. 50 to 52 is a 4% increase. In the special waste, $67 to $69.68. I don't. That's a separate increase. On a separate, the green waste.
But we also had more tons, sir, and so there's both volume and.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confused on the question because if I have more tons, then that
Yeah.
cost is going to skyrocket. So
Yeah.
regardless of if it's just $2, if I'm getting rid of more material, then that is going to be the increase.
Sure.
And I'm not seeing the revenue from it.
I was focused on the rate only, so,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, point taken.
That makes sense.
And it's funny, the minutes don't reflect that. I do remember a discussion about the glide path to higher fees, because I may have even commented that we've been discussing that at my employment at the school district because of the lack of increase since 2016, how we would do a catch up on one of probably the largest commercial accounts in the city. So,
Also,
yeah.
so that specifically, I know Counselor Oberst talked drastically about my Dropbox program in regards to coming back this year.
I do recall him saying you needed
And
to
I know
re-
Independence as well had that written in those.
Yeah. Counselor Oberst.
So first thing, just a clarification. When you say disposal costs are up 13%, you're not telling me that, what I heard was that per ton has gone up 13%. But what it is your total disposal costs have gone up 13%, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so just to, in future, that would be a really important distinction to make. The difference between the rate increase and the payment increase because of the
Good point,
increased
thank
tonnage.
you.
I think that would be helpful to us who are not immersed in the,
Yeah, of course.
in the details of things. And the other piece I would, this, and I will borrow one of Councilor Carey's favorite terms in saying that this gives me heartburn too. And at the same time, I recognize that while this is the second 8-ish% increase in 2 years, it was preceded by 0, 0, 0, 0. And when you spread that out over the 6-year span, it's less than 3% a year, 2.7 a year. And, bottom line is you guys have got to make enough of a profit to continue the operation. And I think that the one area of concern I have is folks who are on limited or fixed income being faced with this hit on garbage rates. And I don't know if there's any way to set up an assistance program, but it's one of those things for the future that I think might be worth exploring, to look at if somebody's, very low income, fixed income, that there might be a subsidy to help them. And I don't know whether that's from us or from you, but some way to help folks who can't meet this bill, because frankly, the alternative is somebody burning their garbage in their backyard, somebody throwing the bag out by the side of the road, and so, which gets expensive in its own right. And so, I would love to see, I'm aware of someone who, doesn't take your service and was burning garbage in the backyard for a while. So, it is a problem already in the city, and, I'm afraid that this might exacerbate it. So I would love to see as some kind of assistance program in the future. And I'll just throw that at you and see if it sticks.
Yeah, of course. We've actually discussed that in all of our meetings that we've had this year. Neither city does that on their own.
Right.
It's done by a third party. From a county perspective, I know this is not county, I understand that. But they don't deal with it. They don't, just like I don't want to be the person that makes that decision.
Right.
I don't know if I'm qualified to make that decision. However, I do my absolute best. It's pretty easy if people communicate how willing I am to work on all aspects. My job is what I always say should be very simple. The trash is out there, we pick it up and we move right on. And it should be that simple. And so that's what the parts of the job that I really enjoy. And we understand that sometimes people have financial hardships, and it's very difficult. We are more than happy to set up payment plans. We are always willing to hold, being shut off for an account for an extended periods of time without, additional fees until people can get caught up. And, with that though, all that has a lot more cost on my office because we have to follow up on every bit of those customers. And to be completely honest, we don't have a lot of those in Monmouth. We haven't had too many reach out. But I do have things in place that I try my hardest to make sure we're not the main reason that they're not able to get rid of their trash. If I can find any possible way to help, I do so.
Okay, very good, thank you.
That's the value of having our local hauler instead of a corporate company, right? So a lot of reputation built and maintained and into the future. Additional questions before we take any public comment? Councilor Carey.
Quickly, the new fees that have been identified here, those are in addition to the percentage increase that was requested, or are they built into that?
That is the built-in, that's the new number that's attached as Exhibit 1 to your resolution on page 12 of your packet.
So the redelivery fee, which is new, would be $21 for a single cart. That's generally figured into the 7.9. Yeah, okay, good. And then finally, it might be worth sort of revisiting that surcharge. Maybe we're beyond a surcharge now and we just need to fold that into a rate rather than have that one sitting out there. I don't know, you could make that decision, but if that's going to be, that was done kind of as an emergency thing, to make you well in that. And it might be that that's stabilized, although Josh, you're saying it's trending in the right direction, but if it's kind of destabilized at not much, maybe that needs to be added to the rate. And, I don't know. You guys are the pros on that, but it just seems like that might be a good idea to do it.
Yeah, and again, that's why we did that surcharge, is if it comes to be where those markets find their way, then you'll be able to see that information and you can tell me, we want to get rid of that. And I go, well, okay, great. That's why it's a surcharge. We don't even need it to be a rate conversation. That was separate from that. And so we can just simply get rid of that as needed, which is understandable. And I think we'll be coming up on that in 2025 when like I said, with this recycling act that was in place, pros take care of a lot of things. That means there's a lot of increased recyclables, but there's some decreased services with that. But overall, from the state level, they project that out to be the best way to get recycling back moving in the right direction. And there's been a lot of people working on that. So I am hopeful. I mean, I feel the same way as you. I'm not interested in nickeling, diming and having these additional fees. Not what I'm interested in. And I'm grateful to have that because the recycling market was very dark there for quite a while. But yeah, I agree with you.
When it comes to that, we'll appreciate your recommendation.
We can show it to you in both ways.
Yeah.
We can show it to you as a surcharge or in the rate.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and open the floor if there is any public comment specific to this issue. We welcome that now. Seeing none, the hearing is closed. And you have before you a motion regarding a resolution on a rate change, resolution number 1983.
Madam Mayor, I'm ready to state the motion. I move to approve Resolution 1983, fixing solid waste rates and repealing Resolution 1961.
And I would second that.
Thank you, Councilor McKeel for the motion and Councilor Oberst for the second. Any additional discussion? All right, Phyllis, could you please call the roll?
Counselor Beltz?
Aye.
Counselor Oberst?
Yes.
Counselor McKeel?
Yes.
Counselor Carey?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Great, thank you very much, and thank you, Estel, and thank you, Josh. All right, that brings us to actually our reports for this evening, and as part of the mayor's reports, and I think our interim city manager mentioned this in one of her reports, but I did receive the official notice that Monmouth has retained its Tree City USA designations. So, yeah, we are a 2023 Tree City USA, and again, there's a lot of work that goes into that, so it's official. We appreciate that. I also, let's see, well, we'll save that for council comments. One thing I do want to say, and I know some of you had the opportunity to be able to tour David's house. That is the youth transition shelter that is being run by Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency. It was based on a grant that was received by Marion Polk County, one of only 30 jurisdictions in the country to receive a large grant to address youth homelessness. And David's house is officially getting ready to welcome its first residents. They will start off with 5 youth between the ages of 14 and 18. Those youth will have 24/7 adult support, wraparound services, assistance with school, with jobs. And they are running a campaign. They have a wish list of items for folks who would like to donate for these youth. And so that information is available, but it's an amazing project, and that will serve youth currently living unhoused in rural Polk County. If in fact those youth don't want to be there, they could potentially take in youth from Salem, for example, or parts of urban Polk County, but they have enough youth who will benefit from this stable place to live, to be given resources, and to be led on a path of independence right here in our community, in the community that they grew up in. And getting to meet many of those youth was a real pleasure. So I'd like to continue that, and thankful we can support that. And that brings us to reports on these boards and commissions. What do we have? Councilor Obers.
The tree board is moving towards our tree planting, which will be the 27th of this month. We have our 8 contest winners. We divvied those contest winners up amongst members of the board, and I had 3 in my neck of the woods, so I have been dealing with those 3. I've talked to 2 of them. They're really excited. I had one person say how much they appreciate the fact that we're looking out for opportunities to do things like this. So, sometimes we sit here and we don't know exactly how our actions are being perceived, but we got a nice pat on the back this week on that one. I'll be seeing my 3rd person on Thursday, and we're just one by one, we're figuring out what and where, and then we'll have to locate. And I talked to the athletic director Lydom at Western, and she is excited about the opportunity to send us 16 to 24 athletes who need a little community service time. And last year we kiddingly said we need football players, so she sends football players. But this year we're making a point of spreading it out across multiple sports and both genders. So should be a good time. It is going to be unusual because it's going to be scattered around town instead of all in one place. But we have gotten our logistics squared away, and looking forward to it. One last comment on that Tree City. It turns out that our tree pruning program at Monmouth Power and Light counts, and many cities don't have the luxury of having their electric utility doing tree pruning. We have to spend a certain amount of our budget on trees, and Monmouth Power and Light takes care of that for us. We don't have to plant trees, but we have made this decision that tree planting is a key function of the tree board, and we're going to keep that going. So,
Yeah, super cool. Other boards and commissions, Councilor Carey.
I did not attend the planning commission because I sort of forgot, but it turns out it was a good thing that I didn't, because there was one of the requests, or one of the agenda items that was denied, and that may ultimately come back to us at some point, and Christie may fill in some of the details on that. But there were two issues before the Planning Commission on the March 20th meeting. One had to do with a modification of a housing plan out off Riddle Road, just north of the campus. And there was a request, there were some sort of minor things in terms of partitioning land and so forth, but the primary was that they wanted to expand that project. Originally, it was going to be 80 dwellings in 20 buildings and two-story buildings. They requested an extension of that or expansion of that to 126 units and into 21 buildings. And those would be three-story buildings. Now, that's from the staff report that was provided. And whether there's any modifications, I couldn't tell you. But nonetheless, that was approved. What was not approved was a wetland variance for a portion of Monmouth Recreation Park. There was a plan to put and is a plan to put a boardwalk out sort of through the wetlands area to a gazebo for observation and so on. As part of that park modernization. And apparently that was denied, and I don't know all the details on that, wasn't privy to it, other than the fact that it was denied, and whether or not that is appealed to the council or not, I couldn't tell you. But as part of the park plan, there must have been something that was significant that would cause them to think that way. But anyway, that's my second-hand report.
All right. I do have a report from the Minnet Board. The Minnet Board met on actually March 27th. And some great things coming on. And Minet's been working on a contract with Polk County to extend the service out to rural Polk County, and we've been keeping abreast of that. But just sort of locally, some other really fun news. Minet recently began offering its multi-gig service. We have 3 to 5 customers a week signing up for multi-gig service. I know. But the great news about that is it is not restricting the capacity on the network for the rest of us. So, they're keeping very close watch on that, of course, because we want to make sure that we're not, the rest of us aren't slowed down in any way. So they are reporting that now, especially based on redundancies we have built in upstream providers, that we have plenty of gig service coming into the Minet system. And this redundancy has really helped. For example, we had an upstream provider who had an emergency outage, but we automatically switched to one of our other upstream providers and kept any of us from even knowing that there was an internet outage. So that's been great. I think the other thing, Minet hired a new finance director, so we got to meet Kira Zappi. She is just with Minet and learning the budget process. So how fun is all of that? The Minet right now projections are on track. We'll be making their June 1st debt service payment in full to both cities, on track to make the December 1st debt service payment to both cities, and also on track to make the December payment on the promissory note, which was where we took all of the prior debt service that Minet was not able to service itself and consolidated that. So that's been pretty exciting. We, again, lots of great stuff. We have another fun thing, this South Dallas project that is financed by the county through their ARPA funds. They have been talking to Falls City and determined that really for very little we can afford to get MyNet service at least to Falls City's, basically to their wastewater plant and their water plant. So that and the school district, where the school district comes in. So we're not at the point where we can build out Falls City yet and get them fiber optic, but we will have a lot of opportunities in that to help the city of Falls City and the Falls City School District. So pretty exciting stuff to be able to see not only the stability and financial stability, but also that there are still opportunities for growth and have other people get the great service we get from MyNet. So that was our MyNet board meeting. And those financial reports and things are available. They are doing a good job of keeping those up and updated. So we suggest folks follow up on that if you're interested. Anybody else? Okay, that brings us to our city manager report. Kirsty Wurst.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to start off by commending Sergeant Mike Strack for his great work filling in as the interim chief this past week while Chief Haynes and Lieutenant Olafson were out. He kept me abreast of all of the issues going on in the police department, and I felt completely comfortable with his leadership during their absence. So congratulations to him, and do want to give him a shout out for a job well done. As a reminder to the council, you'll be conducting interviews in executive session on Friday afternoon beginning at 3 p.m. So please make sure that that's on your calendar. Phyllis does plan to serve you a light dinner that evening, so you won't have to go all evening without any food. It's kind of light. Phyllis can fill you in on what that is. That will be followed by follow-up interviews with your finalists and the community on Saturday, April 20th. We'll be planning a meet and greet with the public. The time to be determined based on the number of finalists that you have selected for your final round. And so that information will be coming out in a public format at a later date. But did just want to make that announcement to the public. Let's see. You did raise the question on Monmouth Recreational Park, and staff will be meeting on that issue tomorrow, and we'll have further discussions with the council when the time is appropriate. And finally, I just wanted to let you know that we have been diligently working on the budget. I wish I could say that I had really positive news to share, but unfortunately I don't. I have grave concerns about the status of our budget, specifically as it relates to the general fund. And so the news that you'll be hearing at your next council meeting in 2 weeks is going to be your next quarterly update on the finances of the city. And at this point in time, we are projecting a significant reduction in the revenues that we're anticipating to receive this fiscal year. That, coined with additional expenses and moving into our budgets proposed for next year, puts us at a significant deficit. And so the finance director and I will be putting together a proposal which you could consider at your next meeting, but we will put a plan in place to address those shortfalls and make a recommendation to you so that as we recommend a budget for fiscal year 25, that we can come in with a balanced budget. And so that is going to require some reductions this year. We've had some preliminary discussions with our management team. Everybody's putting their heads together about how we can generate revenue, cut expenses. And so I don't want it to come as a shock to you in 2 weeks when we meet. Know that we're working on it. And as soon as we have information available, we will bring that to you for consideration. And that concludes my report for this evening.
All right. Thank you for that, Christy. Yeah, not the kind of news we want to hear getting ready for budget, but certainly having sort of the turnover we've had in both finance and in Christy, and really focusing Christie's first few months in City Hall and figuring out where we are on that. Now really diving into the general fund. A lot of issues that we'll need to discuss in depth when they have a chance to get that ready for us. So thank you for that. And that brings us to council comments and announcements. What do we have going on? Councillor Belts and then Councillor Ogers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did not attend the senior board meeting because about a half hour before the meeting, my husband called me and said, I don't feel well, my chest hurts. Please take me to the hospital. So we went to West Valley Hospital. They treated him great. Everything was fine. It was not a heart attack, but I have to say the doctor told him, you did the right thing by coming in. She said, I've had 5 people in the last month that thought they had upset stomach and they were having a heart attack. So there's my PSA. Go to the doctor if you don't feel good.
And speaking of West Valley Hospital, the West Valley Hospital Foundation every year gives scholarships to people who are either pursuing further education in the healthcare field, or in some cases, high school students who are off to college and interested in pre-nursing or pre-med. The primary source of funds for that is the All-In event, which will be held on the 19th at the Independence Hotel. It's I refer to it as fake gambling night. It's real gambling games with fake money. If you are interested, please feel free to drop me an email through the city, and I will get information to you on where to go to buy tickets to that event. It is $50 a person. If you wish to play fake games, real games with fake money, that's an additional $50. Will get you $75 worth of funny money, scholar dollars as we call them. So it's a fun event. Last year was the first annual, and now we're proving that it is in fact annual because this is the second. The other item I have, last year I regaled you with tales of my alma mater's women's basketball team, which made it to the championship game of Division III and won. This year they completed their 3rd consecutive undefeated regular season and conference tournament. They went to the NCAA tournament and they made it to the Final Four, where they ran into the only team that had been ranked ahead of them all year long, the NYU Violets, who unfortunately took it to the Pioneers. They played them even for 3 quarters, but so the second quarter was their downfall. So it's one of those little things, as I said before, these folks work real hard for not a whole lot of attention, and it's fun to make an announcement 2,500 miles away that they had yet another good season. This is one of the results of the COVID year. We had 3 fifth-year seniors on the team, and I think that is a major contributor to their success. And it was fun to watch. Thanks. That's all I've got.
Councillor McKeel.
So do I get to talk about Oregon State women's basketball now? Elite Eight. But anyway, yeah, next year we've got it coming. I just wanted to do a save the date for the Asian American Pacific Islander celebration that will be on May 11th. They're going to have another vendor market from 12 to 5. We'll have some free sampling of area restaurants, owners of Asian descent. And so come for some free samples and then stay for dinner, because there's wonderful food at the vendors that will be there. And more to come. But save the date, May 11th.
Yeah, a comment, and to add on to the budget discussion, we do need to be getting back to Royal Johnson on, once we have it figured out, a little more clarity on our city hall finances. And that'll be part and parcel of this whole discussion, I'm sure. So just wanted to make sure that we're remembering that, and I know you are. You know, and I think there might be a time when it would be worth having a discussion, a 30,000-foot discussion, maybe even with the City of Independence, in terms of how we deal with this franchise contract that we have with Brands. What would happen if we were not to approve and they were to approve? I mean, I just don't know. I mean, we'd be at loggerheads in some ways, and we really need to be together on the same page with that. So whether it's a joint committee or whether there's to continue what we're doing, I don't know, but it's just a little bit of a pinch point. I think that could be a problem for us. So just throw it out there and food for thought.
Great, thank you. We will have lots of things on the new city manager's plate, so.
Yeah.
All right. Christie's kind of done with me adding things to her plate
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
point. All right, seeing no other comments. Yes,
And we
Councilor
could
McKee.
do the land acknowledgement, or
Sure,
are you
go ahead.
finishing up?
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We would like to acknowledge that indigenous tribes and bands have been on the lands here and throughout Oregon since time immemorial. It is not lost on us that the Willamette Treaty forcibly removed these peoples from their homelands in 1855 to 1856, the year that the city of Monmouth was founded. We recognize the pre-existing and continued sovereignty of the federally recognized tribes that are a vibrant part of this region today. The Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, and thank them for sharing their perspective on how we might care for one another and the land so that it can take care of us. We commit to engaging in a respectful and successful partnership as stewards of these lands. Thank you.
All right, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Oberst. All in favor signify by